So this is the first video I'm, recording with my new phone. Basically, I'm saying this because usually like my phone was like in this direction, and now it is like this for the camera to be, here. Basically, the points that they changed, where the front camera is. I now have an iPhone 14. I had an iPhone 11 before that. So what happened is that my mom's phone, she had an iPhone 7 Plus, which was mine before it was her. It was just no, it wasn't working. It wasn't, functioning very well. It was lots of like bugs and stuff. So my parents and I, like, we got myself a new phone, and I passed my old one to her. And now, like, her phone, like, we have in the past donated or given, either way, for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, given to like these organizations that can use it. But my brother, his phone is kind of it's not really working, and he got it fixed, and it's probably gonna last him another year, particularly if he has like a second phone. So right now he's the one with the phone. It is, I reset everything because I passed what was my phone to my new phone, so, and then what was from my mom's old phone to my old phone / my mom's new phone, and then I just clean everything on the iPhone 7 Plus. Also, this kind of like got me reflecting because the first iPhone I ever got was an iPhone 6 back in April 2015. I know the date because it was when I traveled to New York, and it was one of like the best experiences of my life. Traveling in general is really fun. And so yeah, I remember because also like I saved a lot of money for me to buy it. So I got it, and at the time my mom had an iPhone 4, from like I think it was like a white iPhone 4, and it kind of like also like so when I was in September of 2018, when I was going to Portugal, my parents got me a new phone, and then I passed my old phone, my iPhone 6, to my mom, and then when like that iPhone started to like not work very well, and then I got, this was like September 2021, that's when I got like my previous phone, and so it's like 4 years and a half. Like, that was a good run. I don't really care too much about having the latest model or anything. Like, for me, if it's working, it's working. Although, to be fair, like when I was younger, thinking about my teenage years, like when I was in middle school, and to some extent when I was in high school, like I really cared. I really wanted to try and like change my phone every year. So it was nice. I ended up like saving money so I could have like a new phone, because at the time, basically my parents, they gave me a budget, like, okay, that we're going to buy your phone that is up to this value, and then if I wanted another phone, like I would save my money and then up on top of that, which I think is a really good way of doing things. Like talking about parents with their children, give them, because you're both like providing them with like something that's necessary, but also giving them the opportunity to have like something nicer, basically, something that they want. And the whole thing of like saving money for something, it's still part of my life. I still have there's so many things I want that I have to save money for, and of course I would love to have like plenty of extra money, so that I could just buy whatever. But there is some value in this whole thing of like you kind of like chip in, because if you have too much money, like it's also like you for paying, but like when you kind of like you have to save up, like that is like that's a different effect on your brain and all that. So basically, oh yeah, changing the subject. I scheduled my new tattoo appointment for August. I'm going to get this part here, and I already sent the designs, and also like I had to send, my tattoo artist asked for me to send pictures of my heel tattoos, and I did. This one that I have like on my arm, like this one I need a retouch because some others they're kind of like faded. Oh yeah, also let me show what tattoos look like right now. So this is the one. This is of Ezekiel. He's an angel, and here you have another angel, kind of like clean even. So this is what tattoos look like right now. But yeah, so kind of like change the subject. I was, just now with my parents, we participated in a, this event that was kind of like, walk or run. I mean, there wasn't really running there, but it was for people who are visually impaired, people with vision impairment, blindness, and so basically each of us volunteered to kind of like be at the side of one of the people participating, and like apparently today didn't go like that many people that they usually go, so like there was one person for each, for each athlete. There was one voluntary for each athlete, but apparently, sometimes they do these events, and then one volunteer ends up having to help like more than one person. So like it was really nice. We volunteered, we helped. I ended up eating. I'm not gonna have lunch today because I've already eaten enough. but it was it was fun, it was enjoyable, it was a new experience. It required a lot of socialization is always something that gets me, because a lot of the times I kind of like I don't really want to do it, so I end up kind of like trying to end the conversation as quickly as I possibly can. And today, like, we're there because there's like this thing that is kind of like tying my hand to her hand, and so yeah, but it was on this arm, I think. Yeah, but like there was the thing tying up, and it was really so we were stuck together, but still, like, I don't think it was awkward. I think we were able to talk, and I think I was able to kind of ask questions, but like in a respectful manner, because like it is something curious, that is losing my sight. Like, that is something I tried a lot. It's something that because it changes everything. Like, I think you end up having to rely on people so much more, and depending on the kindness of strangers is something that, like, I don't think that people would do that. Thankfully, like, I'm constantly proven wrong in this regard, but it is something that it's just wow. So it's good that we can help, and it's good because, like, like a lot of times, like, because of like these impairments, people end up like isolating themselves or not engaging with the city, society, with like the people around them. So like this is a way for them to, and also to exercise. So they are exercising, they're socializing with other people with similar situation. They are also socializing with other people. So it's really interesting. It was an event by the, what we call it, is like the Biblical Society of Brazil. So there was like this religious context, but like there was never like that many mentions of religion or anything. It was just like some God bless us and whatever. I don't think we prayed even, so it was very much up my alley. Like, we can do something for other people, but without having to be burdened by religion. But yeah, so that was kind of like what we were doing, and it was, I don't know, like, it was really nice. I think that is one of those things, in those moments that I'm like, yeah, I should probably do more of this. Like, I can do more for my community. I can do more. I can contribute more to society. Basically, I don't know exactly how like what else I can do, but when these opportunities they come, like like you just have to take them, because usually these opportunities they end up leading to more opportunities, to more openings in your life. So there's that. Now, something that I forgot, like, just in my contemplations, my like little not internalized, but like internal moments that I have, like my reflections I have, like there was something to say, but like now I forgot. But yeah, so yesterday I ended up being able to do a lot of writing. I'm still not back at like that 100% that I was like a week ago, but it is better than it was the day before. So I kind of like expect today to be better than yesterday, and I'm really hoping that because today's Saturday, the same thing with Friday. Friday I don't have swimming or dancing or anything like the afternoon, so I can have like a lot of like have like an extended period of time where I'm writing. And today is the same thing, Saturday, it's the weekend, so I really do want to kind of like have an uninterrupted period of time where I'm just writing, and it's kind of like, I know I've been saying this a lot, but it is true. Like, I'm very happy with I'm very happy with like what I'm writing. I'm very happy that I get to get writing. I'm really happy, about the quantity, the quality. I think is all like really matching very well. I think one goal that I have, that I would want to get to is, because I'm kind of like writing and I'm adding more things, and I'm kind of like filling in the flesh of the story. So basically, I really want to get down to like 100 pages to go, because basically I'm like here and then I write more, so I'm end up getting here more. But so the number of pages end up like increasing. So I want to get to a point, because I think I am like 130 pages. So I want to kind of like get below 50, below 100. Below 50 will also be great, because I think that I'm gonna finish this round, and then I'm going to have probably 2 more rounds of media, because the next one I'm gonna try and finish the chapters. And honestly, I've been doing this thing in my head where I'm like, let me just write what I want to have, because sometimes like I end up like the words end up not coming out in the way that I kind of like want them to, but like it's just still, because sometimes like there is something that is missing, that is connecting to pieces, so you have to kind of like create that. But sometimes like I just like I don't have like the right words, but I'm like, no, like I'm gonna write down like what I want, and then when I'm reading this again, I can like add up, fancy up, like whatever it is that I want to do with my writing. But yeah, oh, I kind of remember what I wanted to talk about. So basically, yesterday was the day that I ended up facing like a lot of like small situations that have nothing to do with me, but that affected me deeply. Nothing, political necessarily, nothing like socioeconomic, like nothing like that. It's just like whatever things, which is great. Like it is good. It's kind of like I feel bad because I'm feeling bad about like that having happened or that having been said, but at the same time, like I'm like, okay, it's great that this is what's bothering me, not all the shit in the world right now. But yeah, so I kind of like found myself having some negative feelings towards a person, not negative feelings, but like I was kind of like I just not wishing that this person would succeed. And it was interesting that I was feeling that way because the person has done nothing to merit that. It's not really what the person did, it's what the people surrounding that person is what they were doing. So like, it got me to have a certain response. And as I said, like I think that I dealt pretty well with everything, like considering, I know it wasn't like the most important things to me, but like that's the thing. Like then I realized that like, oh, the reason why because maybe like something's been said about this person and I'm attached to this person because I kind of like see something about myself in this individual. So basically like that ended up being kind of like an attack not only on this person because of like this thing, but also on me because we have that thing in common. Like when you kind of like say something about an entire group of people, but specifically to one person, like you're still insulting everybody who fit into like that criteria, right? But yeah, but as I said, like it is not something that is particularly kind of like one of those things about the world that make you kind of like give up. And that was interesting because there was also like degrees to things. So like there were some things that were being said that was like, yeah, whatever. But sometimes like you kind of like you sandwich everything together. Oh, talking about sandwiches, I realized that I really love sandwiches. We had sandwiches before we started walking, and then I got one for after that, and then I went to this supermarket that was like nearby and it had a lot of samples of like bread with some toppings. So I ended up eating a lot of them, and now I'm full. Like now it's time for me to not eat. So I'm going to. That's not even like skipping lunch because basically I already eaten. I just haven't eaten like at the time, the designated time that like we like to eat together here. I'm doing my yeah. But yeah, so those were some things that were said, and that because I connect with a third party, with those individuals, like what was being said felt like also an attack on me. But sometimes like it wasn't really I was completely disconnected from like the person, like what was being said. It's not speak to my existence, it's not speak to my reality, but still like it affected me. And as I said, like sometimes like when you connect with a person, you kind of like may connect for like one reason, but when you're already connected, like everything else, it kind of like feels a bit of an extension to that. So basically let me drink some water. Yeah. Drinking water is great. It's also great when like it's refreshing. It's not particularly cold. But yeah, I guess I was thirsty. What I am trying to say that I'm really frustrated with myself because I don't think I've been able to like to properly say like what I'm trying to what's on my mind. It's just that I was kind of like observing why certain things make me uncomfortable, because sometimes like I was talking about yesterday, some things are upsetting, some things are not upsetting, they're just like like irritating. They're just like, why, like what's the point? But ultimately, like people are going to do whatever they want, and I guess like they have a right to do that. I'm not trying to impede on anyone from doing anything. I don't want to transgress, don't want to affect their rights, but there are some things that are just like, why, like a problem with everything. And I don't say this as an offense, but it's just that sometimes like when you're at that age, you get really invested on certain things. And then you get a point, for example, now thinking, now I'm 28, so it's like 15 years later, like those things, I think I have a better perception of the world, like a better understanding, and sometimes because not everything, sometimes people take different situations and put them together, and they're saying, for example, that this is problematic, and yeah, like this one original situation is problematic, there's something to be said here, but then this one is not, like the degrees of things. Two things can be bad and still one can be much worse than the other, like two things can be wrong, one can be much worse, as I said. And also like sometimes things, they're not even, I wouldn't even call it like a mistake. Sometimes it's just how, I don't know, like it's just happenstance, it's just kind of happened, and maybe it isn't ideal, but like whatever. But yeah, but the point is that yesterday there was one particular situation. There was like a few things throughout like the day, because it really felt like someone was out to get me, because in so many different areas of my life, so many different spheres, I had these experiences of people just saying shit, and I'm like, why? Like, you are seeing something that is not there. You're making something that is a problem. Like, you really, I don't know. It was like 4 or 5 different things. And it's interesting because like they kind of like end up piling up, because I feel like if it was just like one of them, I would have been able to just like look away. But because there was like multiple things, but even then they were all like they were in this similar caliber. Like there's something that's being said that I end up relating to myself. So here's an example. Something that I've always been very insecure about. I don't care about that these days. I'm just really way past caring about that. But it was the idea that I wasn't being kind of like proactive, like dominant, assertive, like that's kind of like where I wanted to be. So anything that happened that made me feel like I was being by subordinate, or like I was kind of like serving, I was not like on top of things, like that made me very insecure. I really didn't want that. And I had a couple of situations that it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, this doesn't seem to be that bad. But then I did my EMDR therapy, and then some of the things that came out, I was like, okay, this is not just insecurity, there's a borderline the trauma here. I mean, there was a trauma, but one of those, there was not like one big situation, it was just like a bunch of smaller situations, but there were a few instances in my life, a few memories that I have that really, because like they really hurt, they really stuck with me. And the reason why is because I really cared about that. So that was like a whole thing that I had to deal with. So basically, like one of the comments that I saw, nothing to do with me, but it was something that was kind of like, why are you looking at, like, you're looking for approval or whatever? And I'm like, nah, just not the case. Like, as I said, not a person I know, nothing to do with me, but it was something that was said that kind of like ended up getting back to that, and that made me have a reaction. Nothing big, like as I said, like it was all small things, but it ended up piling up in a way that they ended up piling up in a way that like a lot of like different insecurities of mine, they were kind of like triggered, not extensively, as I said. I don't even think that I got to where I was upset, but it was a change, and I've been more observant of changes that I'm having in my brain, my psyche, because I think it's really important for you to sometimes like you end up changing without having to make an effort. Sometimes like you have to actively choose kind of like to keep some things in mind, to kind of like push some stuff away, and as I said, like it's a journey. And basically I kind of like was looking at those things, and I was like, why does this affect me so much? Why do I care so much that like this person succeeds and this person doesn't? Because that's the thing about the attachment. I'm saying, like, I'm attached to this person, so I want this person to succeed, and technically both these people could succeed, like one doesn't interfere in the other, but sometimes like you're just like, it doesn't seem to be one or the other. And then one of the comments that I kind of like saw that was about that. And I think that in terms of like having success in a traditional way, like that is something that I'm still a little insecure about. This is something that I've been kind of like learning about myself, that because like my reality right now is what I think about when I think about I want to be successful. The things that are important to me, they're very different than what was important when I was 18. A decade ago, like I wanted something very magnanimous, very megalomaniac. Like I wanted very over the top, like I wanted excess, I wanted everything, and that was just not very realistic. Talked about this plenty before, but yeah, so like basically right now, what are my ideas of success? I want to be kind of like mentally stable, so I'm going to take medication, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to eat nice, I'm going to avoid alcohol, smoking any pills, like like I'm just avoiding those things. And that for me is a metric of success. Like that is something that I'm like, yes. So my physical health as well, my mental health, my physical health, I have to care about both. So if I'm like on top of everything, I'm going to be happy. Writing, so like writing is important, and like finishing my novels, like that is also important. So whenever I finish one, I feel very accomplished, which I should do, which is something that I'm kind of like, what, I should be. It's not that I'm embarrassed of myself, but like I feel like there's some things I should be prouder of. Like I think I'm still very insecure maybe regarding my writing. So like I don't really put enough value on it. Not that I'm like devaluing myself, but definitely it is something that takes a lot of time and effort, and I'm kind of like take that for granted. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this, and anybody could do this, and then you realize, no, not everybody. Who wants to do that, we'll kind of like, be able to do that, because we all have different things that we do, and that is, there are many things that I don't do, that I kind of like can't do, and there are many things that I can do, and like, and that I want to do, because that's important, because there's something you want to do and you're not good at it, like that is, something you should work on. But like, there's some things that like, I don't care about this, like, why would I want, it's not that I can't be good at that, but like, I'd rather have a limited amount of time. I want to invest, with all the time that I have, I'm going to put all that effort into the things that I love and that add to my life. So mental, physical, writing, and honestly, I think that, like my academic life and my professional life, they were much more valued when I was younger. Like I was like, this is going to be kind of like pinnacle of success. And right now I'm much more like, like I want to have money to do the things that I enjoy, the things that I like, to kind of like sustain this lifestyle that I have. But I don't have to, like, there's so many different ways that you can get to that point. So like, I don't necessarily have to have a specific career path. I don't have to have like a certain degree from like a certain university. Like I can just, like do my thing. And yeah, so I'm kind of like, I guess like, finances is important. It's also a part of success. And also, like I said, that thing I said about like me being kinder to myself, because there are some things, there are impediments in my life. Like my mental health can be an impediment. So sometimes just the fact that I'm managing to scrap by, that I manage to make enough money for me to continue to exist, like that is good enough. That is not only good enough, like that is great. And I think that this is the type of kindness that it only happens once start happening after I fully accepted and embraced myself. Because I think that while for some times, like even after I accepted it, I was bipolar and all that, came with that, I was still kind of like trying to hold myself, like kind of like in accordance to people, from somebody who wasn't bipolar, didn't have ADHD, somebody, that was not me. And I think right now I'm finally at a point where I can be like, you know what, I survived, I made it through. I spent so many years struggling to exist, and to wanting to, not really wanting to exist. So, the fact that I made this far is great. And also the fact that like I was able to kind of, still kind of like have lived throughout those, like those periods of times, like that was also commendable. So yeah, so I'm kind of like more inclined to, not necessarily like I'm not trying to kind of like blow my own horn, but I do think that I have to meet myself where I am, and where I am today is, like I'm doing much better. But I can't ignore the past. Like you have to learn from the past. And the things, the sad reality of life, you can say, is that some of the past might repeat itself. So like I'm pretty stable, but like I might get an episode at some point in the future. I think it's most likely I will, but like when. But I'm still being like, nah, it's going to be if. But that's basically that. Yesterday I was able to kind of like look internally into like a lot of like different things, and realize that because I was kind of like walking on eggshell. I wasn't walking on eggshells, it was not that intense, but it was like there was a little bricks on my skin here and there, like me just being like, why do I care so much about this? Like this is not me, this person has nothing to do with me. But then like that is just not helpful. Like you're not going to stop caring just because you're telling yourself you should stop caring. Which is the better option, is for you to just look internally and feel like, why does I feel this so personally? Like this is not me, this is not my life, these are not my struggles. Like why like this speaks to me so much. And as I said, like it all boils down to some type of insecurity, some type of fear that you have. So as I said, the whole conversation between like, okay, you're not going to succeed, like this person is going to succeed and like you're not, and you're just going to fall into obscurity and all that. I think it might have resonated with me, because not only because I cared about like this person to whom this was being said, but also because I fear that is going to happen to me. I think that I've been able to come a long way from, when I cared so much about legacy, that it would kind of like keep me awake at night, because I was so afraid that I was going to die and I'll never really be able to, like say, bathe my name, in any, walks or whatever, just put myself out there. And I've come a long way. That's not my reality anymore, but there is still a part of me that wants some type of, recognition and that's kind of like scared that like that I'm going to fade into obscurity, basically. So that's kind of like why like that comment ended up hurting me so much. Once again, like it wasn't really hurting, it wasn't that intense. It was more of like a little prick, but it was something that got me attuned to reality. I'm like, okay, that's why I'm so worried. But something that I also observed is that once the fear was said, because this is something that was kind of like bothering me for a while, for like a month now. I'm thinking, because I saw a post and I was like, oh yeah, like I was thinking this back then. So it was like a month of me feeling this kind of like anxiety. And what ended up happening is that like once that was said, it's kind of like it was very liberating. Like it kind of like freed me from like this thing being kind of like there under the surface. So that was sad, and I was able to kind of like process that, like, yeah, maybe this is going to happen. It's not ideal, but it's not. It is life. What will happen will happen, and you can't control it. Nobody can. And that's kind of just that. But what? Sorry. Yeah, but what I so there was that. There was the thing of like being subservient that I didn't really like. There was the thing about being hated, not for things that I am, like not personality or whatever, but just demographic groups I'm a part of. Like that is something that for the most part I think I've been able to overcome. But there are still like some things to be said. There are still like some things that I have to say, because what I've been observing is that I have some of these things that have been said to me, and they're constantly said to me, not by like my immediate circle, but like by people more on the outside. But like some of the things are said, and it's interesting because I'm like, am I numbing myself to this? Because that could be bad. Numbing yourself to things is not great. It doesn't work the way you. Oi, pode. Okay, I'm back. My brother, he's going out. So carnival is, technically over, but there's still going to be stuff, today and tomorrow. So he wanted, something to kind of like go over his clothes, and I wasn't really planning the black one. Oi! Now it was my dad. He wanted me to give, the shirt because we're gonna wash it because we exercised. I didn't find it particularly demanding, but it's still like, I sweat. Also, because like this, I barely wear anything with like like sleeves, because usually I feel really hot in them. But what I was saying is that I actually don't remember what I was saying, but yeah, I kind of like lost it. But the gist of what I've been trying to say is that I think I'm allowing myself, I'm kind of like deconstructing some things about my psyche and the way that I'm affected by certain things, like how like sometimes some things they make me feel bad, some things make me feel good, and it have nothing to do with me. So, and there's nothing wrong, like being happy for other people's success, like that is that's in itself, like that's nice. It's not like a bad thing. That there's nothing for me to look deeper into, right? I'm just happy for a person's like accomplishments and what they're doing. But at the same time, like if I'm wishing somebody's downfall, that is not nice, particularly when somebody hasn't really done anything. And then you realize that when you start breaking that down, that has to do with like there are a lot of like steps, but it doesn't get back to you. Like you're looking at yourself and at what happened, and you've kind of like just seeing what you feel here. And sometimes like the way you feel is like kind of embarrassing, it's bad, it's not ideal. You can kind of like, you can stop it. Oh yeah, this is also something that I was able to kind of like write about when I was writing my novel. I did find like room for me to discuss this, which is basically the feeling that, because I'm like, this person does not deserve my contempt, but still I kind of like I feel contempt towards them, and they don't deserve it. I mean, I think specifically about one situation where there's one person that I'm like hoping they fail, and I'm like, this is not fair to this person. This person does not should deserve this. But like, it's like, because that's the thing. I think like this is kind of like a mistake a lot of people make, that's kind of like thinking that for them to have success, other people have to kind of like fail, and that's not at all true. Like it's one of those things that there's room for everybody, and if like there's any type of failure involved, like it is not because of this other individual. Naturally, sometimes like in some scenarios you have to kind of like pave the way, and you need, you know, kind of like one person to kind of like move forward, and kind of like create the environment, establish, you know, like that establishment. And that is so yeah, so it's going to be harder. Like the thing is not so much like that it isn't like that, it's just that it doesn't need to be like that, you know. Like there's room, you know, at least in every circumstance I'm thinking of, like there's room for everybody, you know. So I wanted this person to fail because, you know, because like I think there's this fear, so this person is going to fail, so you want this person to fail as well, because you don't want this person to fail. But like the connection is that I'm kind of like projecting myself onto this individual. And it's interesting because like on some ways I'm like, why am I so partial to the person I'm partial to? Because even before there was this talks of, you know, like K-pop and, you know, your bias and all that, like I already had, you know, like my biases, you know, like in different groups of, you know, people. There will be somebody I'll be like more inclined to. And sometimes I'm like, okay, is this person, am I seeing myself in them, or am I seeing something that, you know, fits? Because that's also like a possibility. I think that there's people out there that they basically how do I put this, I don't know, I think that like you're not like them, but like they mix very well with you, you know, like the way they are, the way, the things that they say, the things they want to do, all of that, like it goes really well with you, like it pairs really well. So yeah, so sometimes like I think some of the people who I have favored have been those individuals. And it's interesting because I'm thinking of like when I was like 13, and we would have discussions. This is so embarrassing, like discussions online, you know, talking. At the time it would be kind of like, you're 13, like things are kind of like sexual by nature, but like you discuss like who's topping, who's bottoming, like all that shit. And like I'm thinking about my opinions then, like there's a pattern that it has kind of like followed, that it just up to this day it's kind of like the case. And you know, even if like that is not just it's not about that these days, I think that I'm like in a place where I have very healthy sexuality, you know, like my relationship with myself no longer is dependent on trauma. There's no projections, there's no compensations, there's no rationalizations. I'm just there for, you know, the pleasure basically. And even then, like I think that my appetite has been kind of satiated compared to when I was 18. Like the difference is, you know, astonishing. But it was important for me to go through different phases, different stages, for me to grow as a person, you know, also for me to know what I like, because, you know, trying different things, it leads you to kind of like you develop your taste basically. And I'm really proud of myself in the sense, because I think I'm kind of like an adventurous person in the sense that like I'm willing to you know, try things. And I think that I really like that about myself. I was talking about, you know, like what are the names, what are some of the personality traits that I have. Adventurous could be one of them. You know, like I enjoy just going on my little adventures. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, it doesn't have to be anything kind of like, you know, expensive. It can just be a little fun, you know, just going to a park or something. But yeah, there's something. Oh, I was also thinking, what do you call it? It is a cross stick, when you have like, you know, the letters of your name, and then you have like one word for each letter. I was thinking about maybe doing something like that for me. You know, this is something that when I was a kid, you know, my grandma did that for me. My mom also did that for me. My dad probably did that. So like, I probably did that. But I should get back to that, you know, and think about, you know, like I think that that's a fun exercise. That at the very least will get me thinking, because I'm gonna think about some traits that fit in the letters, but I'm like, it's not really applicable to me. But what I was saying is that basically I've had these partialities for the longest time, and these partialities make me suffer, because there's, you know, something that you kind of like, it has to happen in a certain way, and if like that is contradicted, you know, like just you kind of like, you lose yourself a little bit. What I want to kind of like, so yeah, so what I want, so I think that basically it's also like something you said about my bias, and also about like the people I feel resentment towards. You know, I'm thinking about, you know, oh, just a great example just came to mind. When I was reading this book series, you know, all the way back, you know, I was like 17 at the time. And there was a character that, and it's not only the series, like the more I think about it, like the more I'm like, the more examples I have, you know, like, and it's just the way uh, I both resented that character, but like I think I wanted to be that character. I feel like that maybe this all comes, as a result of insecurity that I have. That I'm like this person, not this person. Because maybe like what I'm feeling is not just that like, oh, I like this person, I like this person. It's like, oh, I am not like this person, so I have to be this person. Like in that dynamic, and I don't know. So there's just so I'm thinking about like just so many examples. So for example, House Moving Castle. I read the books. I really love the books, and then I watched the movie. The movie did not work for me. For so long, it was one of my least favorite movies. That alongside My Fair Lady, and I think that's because like the character, he didn't I don't know why it didn't work. Like I feel like I've been told like it is a faithful adaptation. I watched the movie before, but yeah. So there's like a few book characters, movie characters, TV show characters, game characters, and all that. And I feel there's a certain distaste. Like they leave me with like a bad taste in my mouth. And it isn't. And I feel like that when those people like it's not necessarily when they succeed, but when like they behave in a certain way that fits a certain like box or something. I feel so. I think there's that, but as I said, like right now I'm like there is also jealousy from my part, which is interesting. Also because like I'm thinking of these characters, they're all male characters. I cannot really think what female characters I feel this way, or any non-binary characters I feel this way towards. It's always men. Is that something deeper? Like, because as I said, like, do I want to be that person? But like, I'll never really be that person. And I think that comes with like some insecurities, I guess. So just revelations happening right here live. I'm still thinking about it, but it's so true. I think that there's some of these characters that I'm like, I guess I wish I could with them, but I can't. So like I guess I resent them in a certain way. Maybe I don't want to be necessarily like them, but I want to be in their circumstances, or be kind of like perceived the way that they are perceived by other people, and I think that's why I keep grasping at straws, sometimes, like trying to impose myself in a certain way, because like that is a connection that I can make, like, oh, this is me, so I can to some extent be like this. So I think that there is this archetype that, because now I'm thinking of like 3 different examples, and they're all very similar. They all have the same hair color too. Like, is that I don't think this is relevant, but like it is. Lots of blondes here. Yeah, like okay. So yeah, but that's the thing. I don't want to be blonde, so I don't think that is that. But it's just that I don't know, and it's crazy because I think about like what are the things that upset me? What are the things that like they the things that kind of like enrage me that are not directly, because some things like are obvious. For example, like misogyny. You say something misogynistic, it's like, oh, it's very straightforward why I'm upset. But there are some other things that I'm like, why this kind of like this scenario? Sometimes there isn't even any confirmation of anything. There's no sort of like, there's just like the possibility of that being the case, and that rally like it happens, and then kind of like destabilizes me. But at the same time, like I do have a couple examples of like the moment I kind of like acknowledge some of these things, it starts kind of like weighing, like it stops dragging me down to some extent. Like I just accept kind of like the worst possible case. That's pretty much what I've been doing regarding the elections this year. I'm like, okay, imagining the worst case scenario, so yeah, imagining the worst case scenario, and it's not ideal, but I will survive, which is what I want, is what everybody in my life want for me, to not succumb to this type of bullshit. Honestly, I'm not even planning on like seeing anything. Like I'm going to yeah, I already know who I'm gonna vote for. It's one of those votes that I'm not voting for this person, I'm more voting kind of like against that other person. And yeah, let's just wait and see. But like we passed through this. I mean, like last time I had elections in 2022, like it was not great for my mental health. I was like very much ready to kind of like to live this plane of existence. If like certain person had won, and I don't want, as I mentioned, I don't want them there. They're not gonna be good for the country, for anything. But uh, I don't want that to be the thing that is like limiting my presence here. But going back to the different archetypes, and it's interesting because I'm like, okay, so I'm jealous of them, I'm envious. Like that is an emotion I can understand, and they're all fictional characters, but like they still have. Is that better or worse? Yeah, I think it's better because I think it was like a real person. I would be like furious because it's a fictional character. So like the character being like that, having those powers, doing those things, like that is, part of the fantasy. But if a person was really kind of like out there and succeeding in it, I would be. I think that would make me angry. Right now I'm upset, but like then that would piss me off. And I know it's not the most reasonable thing. I mean, but it's good that I'm admitting it. I think I'm jealous. I think that's the root of all my problems. Like it's the insecurities I feel that make me align with some people. Make me kind of like see myself in some individuals, and then when things happen, I get upset, because it feels like to some extent it's happening to me. Because it's one of those situations that like if I cannot be this person, let this person, kind of like succeed in this context. Like this person be kind of like on top, like this person, like succeed in a way that it doesn't necessarily have to be like a success, just like financial success, but like whatever they're doing, in their craft, in their recognition, I want kind of like they're well-rounded. So yeah, this was I don't know. There are not many videos that have like these realizations as I'm recording, but yeah, this one had that. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. So just here they are. I realized that I project myself into certain people, certain individuals, and then when things happen to them, it feels like I'm feeling them myself. And I usually support someone in opposition to somebody else. Like usually this happens a lot, like in duos or different groups of people, where kind of like there's something I feel. I think if you have like 3 people, it's probably better because then it's more kind of like equal. But like if you had like a group of like 2 people, I think that I would be inclined to kind of like relate to one, or at the very least like I have an aversion to the other one, so I kind of like side with this one. And then when there's like I said, things are happening here in a certain way that I don't like, then I'm projecting myself here, so it feels very personal. It feels like this is happening to me. But saying these things, saying out loud, like the worst case scenario, like for example, this person did not succeed, was Paul virtual obscurity and all that, like it kind of like it takes away some of the power, because I think that when I'm trying to suppress it, I'm not trying to look at it, I ended up, kind of like feeding a lot into my fear. So when I say directly, like that thing that I don't want to happen, like you start, it's almost like as if you start healing right after you say it. You say it and your brain kind of like processes that is a possibility, and then it's like, okay, so if this is a possibility, so what? And then it just stigmatizes everything for you. But yeah, so anyways, bye.